Reading 45 from the Psychological Commentaries on the Teaching of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky by Dr. Maurice Nicoll. Volume 3, Great Amwell House, September 21st, 1946. Further note on self-remembering. In a recent paper, reference was made to the sly man in the fourth way, who knows how to make a pill and swallow it, instead of making all kinds of painful, prolonged efforts, such as the fakir or monk makes. People can make all sorts of useless and unintelligent efforts to attain a higher level of being, by asceticism, by torturing their bodies, by keeping vows of silence, starving themselves, denying themselves all pleasure, elaborate rituals, repeating prayers mechanically, constantly doing unpleasant or unreasonable things, and so on. All this is not intelligent. The sly man sees what is wrong with him at the moment by self-observation and acknowledges it, that is, swallows it, and thereafter remembers himself in connection with it. He works personally on himself. Making the pill is only possible through seeing oneself by direct self-observation, that is, by personal work and formulating what one sees. In this way, one sees what effort is needed for oneself at a particular time in order to keep awake. What is needed by one person at a given time may be quite different from what is needed by another. For example, the Lord's Prayer can be seen as the prayer of sly man. Notice, it is said first that it is useless to pray by vain repetitions. Quote, "In praying, use not vain repetitions as the Gentiles do, for they think they shall be heard for their much speaking." Matthew 6. What is meant is not directly said, namely, that prayer must be conscious and not mechanical. It must be conceived by the mind, and its meaning seen internally in relation to one's state of being. Every word must be said consciously, with full meaning. In this prayer, which we gabble in church uselessly, we ask for daily bread. Give us this day our daily bread. But in the Greek, it does not mean daily, but what is needful. It also has the meaning of transubstantial bread, or what is beyond ourselves. Bread does not mean literal bread, but bread from heaven. That is psychological bread, psychological insight, mental nourishment, coming from a higher level, and so showing us what is wrong and violent in our level of ourselves. To paraphrase the section, "Give us this day our daily bread," means, may we be given vision and insight and new meaning today so that we know what to do and how to work on ourselves today. So in one sense, the pill is this heavenly, painful bread that we have to swallow. It is the same as the manna in the desert. It is just as if we prayed to be able directly and sincerely to observe ourselves in the light of the work, and so, through its mental illumination, see what it is necessary to work on, and what has to be not identified with, etc., and accept this flash of given insight or light. Take it inwards, and not argue about it or self-justify, but accept, acknowledge its truth. But most people argue about any true internal or external criticism of themselves, and so do not swallow it. That is, accept it and see it as truth about themselves. When we are shown something about our state of being, whether by inner perception or by an outward suggestion or hint, we do not make a pill of it, that is, formulate it, nor swallow it, that is, accept it as truth. But if we did, this would lead to direct and intelligent effort based on understanding. This is the way of sly man, that is, intelligent man, and it is incommensurably superior to breathing exercises, ritual, starvings, torturings of the body, following mechanical disciplines, and so on. The fourth way is based on understanding. The work is the fourth way. That is, it is not the way of fakir, or the way of monk, or the way of yogi. In this work, understanding is the most powerful thing you can develop. Therefore, it is necessary to begin to try to understand what this work teaches and see for oneself why it teaches it. What does that mean? It means, in brief, that you must understand for yourself why negative emotions must go. Understand why self-justifying must go. Why lying and deceit must go. Why internal considering and grievances and making internal accounts must go. Notice the Lord's Prayer says, "Forgive us as we forgive others." You must understand for yourself why egotistical fantasies must go, why self-pity and sad regrets must go, why hating must go, why the state of inner sleep must go, why ignorance must go, why buffers and attitudes and pictures of yourself must go, why false personality with its two giants walking in front of you, pride and vanity, must go, why ignorance of oneself must be replaced by real, uncritical self-knowledge through observation, why external considering is always necessary, and finally you must understand and see why self-remembering is utterly and totally necessary for you at all times if you want to awaken from the great sleep-inducing power of nature and the increasing mass hypnotism of external life. All this is the work and what it teaches, namely, what it is we have to do in order to awaken from the state of sleep in which we live. Now, if you see by uncritical self-observation something, let us say, arising solely out of false personality, out of vanity and self-love, and so out of wrong self-memory, controlling you and speaking out of you and directing all your emotions and thoughts and facial expressions and movements, and if you see it clearly and formulate it, then you make a pill. Yes, but can you roll it between your fingers? Is it so clear, so definite, so objective yet? No, but it can become so. As understanding of what the work is about becomes stronger, and as you become more responsible for it. You have then to swallow the pill, accept it. That is, see it is something in you, and that you are wholly to blame because you have been identifying and saying I to this thing in you up to now, which has been probably making you miserable and everyone connected with you even more miserable. I will not say that the swallowing of the pill is easy. Now, a person has no power of right self-observation save through the force of the work. So in the case of a person who is secretly insincere in attitude to the work, you always find a curious inability to self-observe. Such have no light to see themselves. There can be no question of making a pill or of swallowing it in such cases. Consider what has been so often said. You cannot understand the work unless you feel it, that is, value it. To understand in the work sense requires, to begin with, the cooperation of two centers, the intellectual center and the emotional center.